Games that focus on close quarters fighting can provide some of the most nail-biting experiences in video games. At that range, you have to think fast and react faster. Let's take a look at 8 games or levels that nailed some really great aspects of close quarters battles. Hit that like button, sub to the channel if you want more, and hey, we're gonna find something for everyone. Ready or Not is a team-based tactical shooter that requires precision, coordination, and planning. Fair warning though, this game is very mature themed beyond just the shooting mechanics, so do your own research and decide if that's what you're looking for right now. There are a lot of really fantastic systems at play in this game that fans of older SWAT titles will gravitate to. So, what does it do well? Let's start off with breaching. Door breaching is super satisfying with multiple ways to do it. You can peek doors quietly, kick them down, blow hinges with shotguns, or go all out with a breaching charge. It just does not get old. Team comms is great with your AI teammates even if you're not playing with friends. You can easily split your team into 2 groups, queue up a series of commands, and then all attack at once from 2 different directions. The single player command system is pretty clever and easy to learn. It seems to remember what commands you're using a lot and places them on a quick key. Communication is context sensitive, and despite there being a lot of things you can ask your squad to do, it was generally impressive how that never got in your way. Your AI squad chatter is a bit cringe, but it gets the job done, and it reminds me a lot of squad chatter from SOCOM US Navy SEALs back on the PS2. Developer Void Interactive has said they are working to improve dialogue in the game. Ready or Not also gets rid of a lot of the guardrails that you didn't really know existed in other shooters, which is pretty apparent the first time you get shot through glass that you couldn't see through because of the glare of the sun, or you're inside a building and you get shot at from the outside. You know, you never really feel safe in Ready or Not, which I love, because movies and TV shows, man, they almost always get this part of close quarter battles wrong. When someone enters a room and screams clear, the room doesn't magically stay clear forever. Clear just means clear for that second, and no promises after that. In Ready or Not, enemies might run back into a room you just cleared, because you never know. You have to do things like wedge doors shut behind you as you go, or have your team carefully cover where you've just been. Another great aspect of SWAT-style games is that you're not trying to drop everyone in sight. You're tasked with separating people who want to fight you from people who want to give up or that might need rescuing, in which case you secure them and move on. You're not exactly, nice about it, but whatever. It is what it is.
Calm down.
Listen, man, I just want it to be over.
Man, this one's a good one. Modern Warfare 2 is coming out on November 10th, and we were able to see some of it ahead of time, so you'll be happy to know that there are plenty of close quarter battles. But it owes all of this to one of the best levels in recent memory, which is the Clean House mission from COD Modern Warfare 2019. Unlike any other Call of Duty level, this one sported only 11 enemies. 11 enemies! In a Call of Duty level! And it had a mix of heart-stopping shoot, don't shoot, no wait, do shoot, and feel terrible about it scenarios. This level took place at night and saw your team get plugged through doors, had you enter rooms with crying babies, hoping to high hell that the mom in that room wasn't up for a fight, and generally made you feel extremely scared to do the wrong thing. It also begged for repeated playthroughs to get that perfect run. Players who killed all 11 baddies using only 11 bullets earned the coveted Golden Path achievement. It's one of the most sweaty Call of Duty levels, and I mean that as a compliment. Alright, deep breath, let's have some fun and get away from the milsim for a second to talk about a close quarters fighting game that makes you feel about as close to Neo from the Matrix as it gets. Superhot places you in all kinds of scenarios where you should be dead in a second, except time only moves when you move. So you have plenty of opportunities to plan out big brain plays. What this game does so well is allow you the space and time to do all the thinking before acting on it. The more you play, the faster and smarter you get, making Superhot almost like a brain trainer, but for close quarters combat. By the end, you will have sliced bullets with a sword, defeated an elevator full of enemies at point blank range like Captain America, used a bottle to win a gunfight, and generally made yourself feel like a certified genius. Superhot even has a VR version that makes it even better. Now, when close quarters battle takes place in larger urban areas, there's a lot more that can happen both inside and outside of buildings. Insurgency Sandstorm has a lot of take and hold objectives that throw you into some intense fights. The game also has some of the most wicked sound design in the industry, and you'd be amazed how much that affects you while you're playing. Hearing enemies shout from inside a building you're occupying is genuinely terrifying. You'll see your pals get ganked with crowbars, blown up by bombers, and taken down instantly without top tier reflexes. It's probably one of the best made non-AAA shooters in a while. The recent update added a new, much more close quarters prison map, and in addition to that, you absolutely can kick doors, just make sure you have a good sense of what's on the other side. Back to a wildcard pick, Hotdogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades may have you fighting some massive wieners, but the game also sports some of the most realistic guns in all of VR. Not even joking. What H3 VR does so well is what a lot of other VR titles do, but better, and that's forcing you to grapple with weapons as the complex mechanical devices that they are, or you totally fail to, especially under pressure. And even more unique is the ability to pull off one-handed gun manipulation like racking a slide against objects, something people who train for real CQB learn in case one arm gets injured. That granular detail alone extends to other situations, like running low on ammo and having to load a single bullet into a magazine. H3VR also has extensive door breaching mechanics, some of them still in development, which are well beyond what you'd expect from a game like this. Another advantage of this game is it's pretty kid safe if you are worried about playing shooters around younger folks. Now, okay, my kids did have a lot of questions about Hotdogs though, and full disclosure, H3VR is more of a series of smaller games, many of them still in the works, so don't expect a super polished experience. But if you're after a safer VR choice, try titles like Pavlov, Onward, Contractors, or Firewall 0 Hour. Firewall being for those of you with the PSVR. Now, VR is expensive, so next, let's look at some budget picks that are a bit more affordable. 0 Hour, not to be confused with Firewall 0 Hour for PlayStation, is around $12, and is a great starting point on Steam if you want to see if you have the patience for more slow-paced tactical shooters. Now, it's nothing fancy, but it has a lot of the basics like weapon customization, rappelling on the sides of buildings, stacking up on doors, and communication like shoulder tapping your buddy to let them know when to move in quietly. The enemies you fight are clever and can do things like flank you, take hostages, hide under beds, and generally be unpredictable. These are features more expensive games like Ready or Not are still working on, but like Ready or Not, you also lose points if you accidentally drop enemies while they're trying to surrender. 0 Hour maps are smaller and they focus almost entirely on building interiors with some randomized aspects. Think more of the way a game like Payday 2 handled it, with doors or room elements moving around to keep you from knowing exactly what to expect during each run. As a budget game, you may encounter some jank though. If you want to spend a bit more for an entry-level tactical game, you can also drop $30 for Ground Branch, which 0 Hour gets compared to a lot and is a bit more polished. Ground Branch has a way more extensive customization system, more player stances and ready positions, a weightier feel, and better sound design. Enemies in Ground Branch aren't really anything special, but they get the job done. Ground Branch also focuses on larger maps with more open areas. Now that we're looking for games for anyone, here's one you don't even need Twitch skills to enjoy because it's a turn-based strategy game. Even more unique than that, of all the games we've talked about so far, none of them have perma-death, but the XCOM series does. If you screw up, your favorite operator is dead forever, so no pressure. That's why the XCOM series delivers one of the most intense close quarters tactical experiences an alien-invested future can offer. Now, you might have already known that, but what some people might not have discovered is that by using XCOM's destructible environments, you can totally ignore doors and breach into rooms through walls, which is something modern special forces units have learned to do in urban combat to stay out of what's known as the fatal funnel. That's where teams can get channeled through a single doorway and destroyed. There are tons of ways to do this, including grenades, power fists, and heavy weapons. Later in the series, XCOM Chimera Squad builds on the door kicking idea even further, with units initiating each fight in a dedicated breach mode. You'll have honest to goodness classic CQB with stacking up, tossing flashbangs, and all. You can also pursue non-lethal means to make arrests like the certified Earth cops you are. Now, since we're talking about ripping open walls, Rainbow Six Siege is the only other CQB game on this list that has destructible environments. Of all the games on the list, Siege is your go-to for multiplayer, especially with its now 7 years of updates, tuning, and content. If somehow you haven't played this game yet, give it a try. As tactical games go, it's pretty fast for a military-inspired shooter, and casual rounds usually devolve into team deathmatch style play rather than more tactical playing of objectives, with headshots always being king.
Op 4 eliminated. Mission successful.
So, this is for folks who are a bit more into run and gun shooters, maybe even Counter-Strike or Valorant, and who want to mess around with cool gadgets, but are not looking for a hardcore, slow-moving game. That being said, even though rounds are fast, a full ranked match between two teams can still last 15 to 30 minutes, maybe longer for pick and ban matches. Alright y'all, this list was really hard to pare down and we left quite a few titles off. I'm getting back into Escape from Tarkov, for example. Now if you want a part 2, hit us with your favorite CQB game that did something clever or fun with close quarter battles. Thanks for watching, and remember, I don't always flashbang, but when I do, I usually flashbang myself.